I'm sure we'll run out of it, because if anybody thinks that they're going to learn about an important subject like fracking in 15 minutes, you're sadly mistaken. But hopefully I can allay a couple of fears and just explain some things. Number one, how happy I am here to be speaking to a Labour country. To give you some idea, last month when I was in Russia, allaying Russian fears about fracking, somebody asked me, have I ever been to Russia? And I said, no, but I have been to the Soviet Union twice. I think that kind of tells you where I'm at in some ways. Why am I here? Because I live in Kingston upon Thames. Unfortunately, I got that fool Zach Goldsmith as my MP. I'm here because this oil, because this is the big misconception, we're looking for oil in Sussex. I'm not interested in gas. Oil is the story here in Sussex. And, well, you know, okay. But anyway, oil, which we all use, and I don't think too many people hate what we consume. But whatever it is, this is about the only thing the Tories didn't privatise. Okay? Every drop of oil and gas in the UK is the property of the Crown. Now, as a good small Republican and somebody that is a citizen, not a subject of the United Kingdom, I say that that belongs to all of us. So therefore, when it comes here, it's correct. You know, it is your oil and gas. It's also my oil and gas. It's also that of a single mother in the Leeds council estate and somebody in Northern Ireland and what have you. Anyway, also in politics, we always have a reality check. And I think the big reality check for Labour, okay, is this idea that, you know, the Green-Red alliance has got to end. Because I think it seems to me the Greens are naturally conservative. Let's recall the last general election. 0.89% of the vote went to the Greens.
Did you talk about shale gas?
Okay. Yes, exactly. Let's talk about the subject.
Excuse me.
Please.
Could I introduce point of order? Could I introduce point of order? Could the speaker be introduced by the chair? Could the speaker be introduced by the chair? Because there has been no introduction.
Yeah. Okay, I will say
that's true. Nick, we passed over the introduction. Nick Grealy is director of an energy consultancy called No Hot Air, and
let's have none.
has been in the natural gas industry for 22 years. He told me earlier that the first 15 years were very boring, but since then things have got more interesting. So let's listen to Nick. It's not very often we have a chance to hear different opinions in the same evening, one after the other. It is your prerogative to make up your own mind. So let's listen and respect each of the speakers, please.
Okay, I made the point that this is my gas and my oil, so therefore we all have a right to decide whose it is. Now, I will speak on the local impact. However, as I said, this is an extremely complex technical issue. Nobody is going to be convinced one way or the other within 10 minutes. It's a physical impossibility. Now, the key issue is the climate. 97% of scientists say that climate change is being caused by global warming. The main cause of that is the burning of fossil fuels. Of those fossil fuels, the CO2 emissions come 43% from coal, 36% from oil, 20% from natural gas. Why on earth are Greens fighting against natural gas? Especially when natural gas is the least polluting, cleanest burning, okay, causes absolutely zero particulate matter. You may have heard on the radio this morning. Particulate matter causes heart attacks. May give me one yet. Okay? Now, so therefore, natural gas is a good solution. It's not the best solution. But what is happening here is perhaps we make natural gas the enemy of the good. There is a lot of, in the climate change battle, there's a lot of hearsay and selective editing by climate change opponents of the evidence. People use one study when there's 20, which they don't mention, which contradict it.
Lies.
As in all the other ones, as in the methane,
Rubbish.
as in the others. You can. I'm the one here with microphone. You don't really listen.
We'll say something we want to hear then.
Don't like
God's sake.
Oh, please, I can see. Look, there are some people here, most people, the majority of people in the United Kingdom, who want to listen. Okay? And there are other people that have made up their minds, and whatever I say ain't going to convince them. So I ain't going to waste my time. Let's go, okay, because again, climate change is the issue here.
It's not.
This is bigger than you, far bigger than you.
That's not the
This
issue.
is something that belongs to all of us. And there are all kinds of misconceptions about the role of fossil fuels, of natural gas. There is this misconception that the sun and the wind can magically help us, which, I wish it was true, but it ain't. We got to deal with what is, not what ought to be. Finally, just very quickly, because I'm running out of time, is the impact is going to be so incredibly short-term for local people. I believe Balkan Council said that there would be maybe one truck every 15 minutes. I think that when we have climate change to consider, when we have air pollution to consider, and also it's interesting, Alan mentioned about that there isn't enough civil servants in the Environment Agency, and he's quite right about that. But there aren't enough nurses and there aren't enough teachers. And the next Labour government...
Can you go on topic, please, for your last minute or two? Just go on to the topic. We're not talking about nurses, we're talking about fracking. We're talking about fracking, excuse me, thank you.
No, we are talking about the most important thing going. Okay, I'm sorry, I would have thought that all my friends from the Green side would agree with me. I constantly hear that we've got to talk about the climate. I don't know who you're listening to. Everybody tells me it's climate, and it is. Okay. I think there are two things. I just like to say that the physical impact of fracking is going to be very short-lived, and you're going to be having perhaps this 80 square kilometre around us. You'd have perhaps 2 rigs tops at any one time. I certainly saw very ugly supermarkets and so on along the way. But you know what? Those supermarkets, they're there forever. Whereas shale gas well, at the end of the day, is something that just spouts money out of the ground directly to the taxpayer and hopefully to a Labour Chancellor, which will pay for plenty of regulators and plenty of teachers and plenty of everybody else that we need in one nation. Now, I'm happy to answer specific questions, okay? But there we go.
So we will take 2 or 3 short questions for clarification, starting with this lady, and then we will move towards, yes, at the back.
Yeah, hi, my name's Nikki Sanger. I've just got just a few general points, but
Could you ask one question, Nikki?
Oh, there's so many.
Later we'll have a chance to ask more questions.
Okay, the point about the methane being a clean form of energy, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, yes, if you burn it, it's a clean form of energy. If you frack it and it's released into the atmosphere, it's something like 60 times more powerful than CO2 when it gets in there as a greenhouse gas.
Okay, so Nikki is asking a question about methane gas, that it has a different polluting aspect given different ways. I'm not a technical person, so I am going to pass this over to Nick.
Okay. Okay, well, this is very untechnical. The whole point of where we go through all this trouble, through all this grief, have all these people wearing funny costumes and playing musical instruments and screwing up the road to Balkan, is we do this so that we can get natural gas out of the ground so we can sell it. What on earth would be the point of letting it release into the air?
But it does.
Are you a businessman or a scientist? Are you a businessman or a scientist?
I'm pretty much an expert in natural gas trading. I've learned a lot about geology. I ain't a geologist, okay? But I do know a lot. I also know that even though there is Professor Howard and Professor Ingratfield, who I have come across in person, there are many others, including at his university, who completely disagree with him. So it's kind of like the point I was saying about climate change is why do we don't accept crappy science for climate change science, and we shouldn't accept crappy science from fracking antis either.
And I hear that they're not going to be fracking in Kingston upon Thames.
The next question is from the lady at the back in a green coat and a blue scarf. So, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Alice Pack, a resident of Balkan. So I've had to put up with quite a lot so far from the fracking industry. I would like you to qualify a statement that you have made twice this evening, saying that it would be a short-term impact if you have fracking in your area. Could you please qualify what that means if there is untold damage caused to the local water table through leakage, and if people have suffered themselves through living very close to this hideous drilling that keeps them awake at night, and if they are having to deal with getting their children across what was a quiet village street to go to school in the morning, and yet they have these enormous trucks coming and going. It's not short term.
Okay, thanks. So the question, if people didn't hear, the question is about... So what does it mean to be short-term impact?
I didn't have the pleasure of going to Balkan this summer. I was very wisely out of the country.
You would never live next to a fracking site. I'm sorry, I can't even...
I'm sorry, I would. I have absolutely zero problem with that, okay? None. Zero. None.
Live next to it. Well, I want to see you living next to one then you can prove...
Well, I have certainly visited plenty.
Why are you out the country then?
That's where you'll end up when it goes wrong, won't it?
I can't believe he's for real.
Okay, the short-term impact. Number one, perhaps Alan would help me here.
You need it.
It seems to me... I'm sorry, who are you again?
Does it matter? Carry on.
Yes, well, perhaps you...
I'll introduce myself later if you want.
Okay, by the short-term impact, which again we have to go against the greater benefit for the nation and for the economy and for the environment, okay, would be different in various stages. Now, we're going to have the exploration stage and we're going to have the production stage. The exploration stage would mean that in an area of 80 square kilometers, that we would be having a well site which would cover perhaps 25 of those square kilometers. That would be intensive construction, but intensive in a way that perhaps the same as if an office building or a supermarket had been built, for about 9 months. After that time, okay, all you're going to be having is a area less than the size of the stage, which obviously could be disguised in various ways, and that's it. And then that is essentially a hole in the ground that money flows out of, which goes...
Yeah, right.
Well, and if you don't...
You can't drink money.
Of course you can't drink money, and this isn't a choice. And simplistic statements like that are ridiculous.
Are they?
You can't drink money.
But if you can't drink the water, what's the point in having any of this money? It's a waste of time.
What proof is there of any damage to water?
Have you the list of the harmed for one? Have you heard of the list of the harmed?
Online, you can watch it, just look for it. It's a terrible thing.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of old-fashioned. When I go in science, I go like in universities, professors and so on. You know, I don't like watch something on YouTube.
No, you don't.
Well, I've seen you on YouTube.
Yes,
Thank you.
If you watch later, I'll put this up as well.
I did promise, I think we'll hear one last question and then we'll see how we address that.
I'm Graham Mackey, I'm from Hurst. There was one point you made, Nick, that I think is absolutely fundamental, and I just didn't quite understand it. It was the opening joke about Russia and the Soviet Union. Could you help me with that?
Okay, hang on. Okay. So let's let Nick answer this last question. I didn't understand it either, so... and then we're going to pass to Annalise. Can I ask the audience not to interrupt Annalise or our other speakers? Let's be respectful.
leave some time. That really has absolutely nothing to do. That was a joke. I'm sorry. I thought English people were good in irony. But anyway, that is, you know... We're here about talking about shale, not have that. Thank you, sir. At last.
We have more space for questions after Annalise. Then we will go straight into questions, and people can stay as long as they like. So, I'm going to introduce our third speaker. Annalise Dodds comes from Oxford.